Okay, we good now? Hello?
Maybe.
Good podcast. Yeah, I'll catch y'all next week. That's it for the podcast. You guys missed everything. Bye. All right, let's try that again. Welcome everybody. This is episode 7 of the Trials Talk podcast. I am here with Osoguineapig, aka Nathan, and the beautiful RJ, um, Massive Dong Burger.
Thank you.
hmm
Magnum.
So we were just talking about like some of your favorite like cab tracks and stuff. What was your favorite track that you made? Oso,
Um,
which one?
Either on Fusion, I didn't really make that many tracks on Fusion because the editor was broken for so long on PC. And I started on Evo Gold where the editor was beautiful and still I to this day I will maintain the best way to ever edit tracks is on Evo Gold with keyboard and mouse. It's just the cleanest, most efficient, most precise way to edit tracks.
hmm
And they just could not figure out how to do what they did on Evo on Fusion, I guess.
Yeah, we
And to
discussed.
some extent still going into Rising.
Yeah, we discussed a little bit your displeasure of like how mouse and keyboard is just atrocious, and you're talking to Bradders about it, right? And he's
Yeah,
just like
Raiders.
the
Yeah.
buttons or like the layout of it. It's so small that you can't really tell like
Yeah.
what button does what, right?
Yeah, that was a criticism that I didn't even think about. That the even for new players that are getting from console to PC and thinking like, oh, this is the thing I should start trying, it's confusing as hell. Like from a person who already learned it, that wasn't even the criticisms I had, but that's just like more things that make it even more frustrating to use is how confusing it can be to pick up and how it just really the game just encourages you to just do it with a controller, even though there's so much more potential to make the process so much more efficient with the keyboard and mouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, I didn't make that many tracks on Fusion. Most of the stuff I did on Fusion was like cloning and uploading like the individual skill games or Easter eggs or ninja tracks from the career and stuff. That's why it shows that I have like 70 tracks uploaded on Fusion, but there's like maybe 5 original tracks.
Um,
Uh,
I think a big question that I had for you for quite a while, and you couldn't break NDA and stuff, but Nathan Oso, he was helping Red Links basically test a lot of tracks out. How did that process go, man? I want to hear a lot more about that, and I think others.
so yeah, so if for anybody out of the loop, I'm in part of a group called the Trials Elite, which is working alongside Raglinks, Ubisoft Kyiv to provide feedback for um, early builds of the project, which has now become Trials Rising, and provide feedback in order to have some insight for the developers and other people involved in the project and the game designers to uh, make the make the project as best as they can and in a way that so the players will enjoy it as best as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a very important thing that oh yeah, hello Venture, another uh, a very important thing that I think is a very important distinction because I've been seeing a lot of feedback from a lot of people that are aware of the Trials Elite program and the people involved and giving feedback and stuff and knowing that some of us are ninjas and stuff and they they get the impression that we have a lot more power than we do. While we had full access to the builds in the game, it's important to remember that we are a source of feedback. We are not the people actually pushing the code, making the changes ourselves. Everything we do as feedback is for feedback. And and because of that, there are going to be times when we provide feedback and it just doesn't like the changes that we suggest aren't going through. And so I'm not just trying to shift blame elsewhere. I'm just making sure that people understand that the Trials Elite program is not they toss the controls over to us and said you make our game, you know. It's just giving us the opportunity to give them extra feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one of your um let's start with the biggest concern, and then we'll switch over to like the biggest improvement that Red Lynx has made to the game. But what is the biggest concern you have thus far with Trials Rising? Just knowing that you were a little behind the scenes working with it.
Mhm. Um. Okay. Well. Okay. Well, I should start by saying that I think there's obviously the Trials Elite program wouldn't exist if it wasn't extremely important for Red Lynx to have the more like higher level or like more experienced players or just returning players in mind when making this game. I think if they were just going for all the new players and they didn't give a crap about anybody coming back, like a lot of people were concerned about with Fusion, the program wouldn't exist. They wouldn't have gone out of their way to make it happen. However, I do still think that, and what probably is my biggest concern moving forward, just with any aspect of this and with the new game, with this type of stuff, is that there still is divide in terms of general philosophy between Red Lynx and the companies and the pieces of Ubisoft that make decisions about how the game is made and the player base. And I think it's always going to be some level of divide, but I think, yes, there have been times along the way where it has been more concerning than we expected that there was a certain level of divide in philosophy in terms of how tracks should be made, how obstacles should be made,
Mm-hmm.
how certain aspects of the game should flow, or certain physics adjustments and stuff like that. And those are things that were always different and never really were resolved going into full releases, full patches of the game. So that's I know it's a pretty general concern, just saying difference in philosophy, but it is pretty representative of my biggest concern
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the.
Yeah, it's tough when um I think we put a lot more time into say doing these insane ninja tracks. They don't have that kind of time. They're not able to necessarily test out um these insane techniques, I think, like as much as we kind of make it out um with. But and it's tough to say like who's the highest level like ninja rider at Red Lynx, like who's helping create black belt.
So the person who made Black Belt, there's a couple different guys that worked on Black Belt. I forget their exact names. Somebody else. Last time I was talking about this on somebody's stream, somebody linked them in chat. But
Mm-hmm.
they do have two guys working there, designing tracks that are both level
Yeah,
4 to
three.
5 players. Um, so it's not like these are like level 2 to level 3 guys that are thinking, oh, what's the craziest thing that we could make. They are high level players to a certain extent, and they are building within their skill range.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think there's just always been, when people look at Red Lynx obstacles, because there is a certain sense of, you can look at an obstacle and tell yourself, wow, like this is a Red Lynx obstacle or something.
With that classic look, huh?
there Yeah, there is certain sense, and we got the sense of this kind of along the progression of the game. It's almost as if Red Lynx is dipping further and further into the meta. I mean, early on, if you look at Trials Evo, ninjas weren't even supported, and then going into Fusion, ninjas were supported, but they kind of wanted to ride that line in between. Like they didn't want stationaries, they didn't want front wheel, back wheel, they wanted pure, you know, technical stuff, and they wanted it to almost be like it could still live in its own class of a style of track. And because of that, we saw some obstacles that were pretty questionable and like, well, what the fuck is this? And we still see that type of influence evidence in the career tracks in Rising. However, they have, I guess, suscepted to the more maybe gimmicky sides of things, with obstacles where you have to do flips, obstacles where you have to do stationaries, or certain types of bounces that could be considered a more gimmicky. Um, and that's why I still think there's a little bit of a divide, but it's definitely getting back towards, it's getting closer to what we would come to expect from a Track Central
Yeah.
type of meta.
Yeah, so um we talked about um black belt and
Mm-hmm.
the like how about the original version, like the alpha build of black belt. I was actually telling people about it in my stream the other day that apparently it was even harder, and I just
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
hear your thoughts. Like you talked to me about the first CP being like almost impossible for you to like get consistent at. And now it's like it's one of the easiest things. So what other
Yeah.
obstacles? Like can you go over the first one and then talk about maybe like some other pieces that they adjusted for it?
Um, I can't speak to every piece that was adjusted for it. I know they made a good amount of changes in Checkpoint 7 and Checkpoint 8. The first one that just really stuck in my mind over time because I wasn't looking at every single build as it came along. I've been busy with school and other aspects of my life, so I don't know like the exact timeline of when they changed everything, but I know that the original builds of Black Belt, the track was basically designed to be close to unpassable with any level of certainty. It I think at some point when they I don't know if this was maybe at the point where they made the distinction where they wanted to provide challenge rewards for completing these tracks, that they maybe realized, oh, maybe we should make this goal actually attainable for an individual. Um, but yeah, just from the starting checkpoint on, everything was just an absolute clusterfuck. The the obstacles are more or less, even from early on, close to what you see today. They I think they had just decisions that they made about not wanting to change anything too drastic along the way. But yeah, the first checkpoint, the starting climb, the margin for error with the first block, the first beam that hangs off the wall before you get onto the wall was much smaller. So it was really hard to get onto that wall consistently. And once you got up there, you had to execute the most frame perfect, absolutely perfect compression squishy hop in the history of mankind to clear this jump up to the next part. Because if you notice, if you played checkpoint 1 of Black Belt, there's this barrel underneath the platform that you're getting up to get to, sorry, checkpoint 0.
Never played it.
Yeah,
I don't want to
hold on
confuse
really
anybody.
quick. Yeah. Going over the checkpoint 0 and checkpoint 1 piece really quickly. I'm not a fan personally of it. I've gotten so accustomed to using, it's the first checkpoint, therefore it is checkpoint 1, but I understand. Um you were able to convince me a little bit last time we talked, Oso, but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I could talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
too, but just really quickly, just so people know what I'm talking about. The Yeah, there was the barrel underneath the final platform was not an afterthought. It was not if you slip here and you try to get on your engine block and you rotate backwards, you might clip your back wheel. It was designed to actually fuck your entire life up every time you went at that.
So you had to bounce off like your back tire like underneath the barrel and like barely just like
Yeah,
inch your way
it
over the
was
top of the
it
barrel.
was extended so far out from that platform that it was actually like a matter of a couple pixels of wiggle room that you had to really not clip your engine block, not clip your front wheel,
Got
and
to
get your
be
front wheel on
task
top of
bot
it.
runners, man.
And of course, again, you had to execute it from a squishy in which, and your current camera angle, you can't actually see where you're going. So you're just like, I'm gonna do a squishy. I'm trying to make it as good as I can. And look, I failed again. Time to go for again this horrible climb and get up there and then do it again and fail another 500 times. And I was telling Josh that, I mean, yeah, I'm only level 5. I'm never going to get close to the levels of like where RJ are and stuff. And guys at his level continue to surprise me every day, even though I've been playing this game for like 5, 6 years. But I am actually convinced that if they were to launch with one of those early builds of Black Belt, people wouldn't have passed it for weeks. Like it, it would have just been so demoralizing.
That we would have just given up on CP1 or CP0, excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Um,
it's just
just
one of those
not want to
tracks.
play
Like,
it. It's just
yeah,
ridiculous if it's like that. But how about CP10, the overhang CP? Was that changed up at all? Was that even crazier, or did
I'm
that one
not
stay the
sure.
same?
I'm not sure because I know that I played it a little bit and it was like I was trying to mess around with it and it was giving me a hard time and I just like skipped it and moved on and then I came back to it a little bit. And I don't know if I just got more used to it or if they did actually change it. I didn't actually provide feedback on that checkpoint myself, so.
The CP seems really particular, at least to me. Like it's really specific what it requires, and so makes me think that it it was refined a lot, so I think it maybe wasn't changed that much, if at all, from when they
I'm not,
first laid it down.
I'm not sure.
How do you even do the overhang checkpoint? You guys, this if you don't know what this checkpoint is, there's like a gnarly, like, I don't know. You have to go up this 90-degree wall, and there's like a giant piece of wood sticking out that you have to like bounce the bottom, like you have to bounce your back tire off the bottom, like on the corner perfectly, and like somehow get your front tire over the top. And it's the second to last checkpoint on black belt, and it's been giving me a ton of trouble. But like, what what is the strategy like going about it, RJ? What's your mentality?
Well, Bubby kind of told me how to do it because I was struggling off the bat. At least the first overhang, you wanna connect good with the wall because you have that like curved slope going up into the complete vertical wall, and you want to hit that as nice as possible to keep your speed, and then you want to squishy as early as possible to then hit your back tire and flip up on top of the wooden fat ass plank. And then there's so many strats to get up on that box afterwards. I have my own, and like I know Lorcan has his own, and there's so many different ways to do it, but I don't know if there's like the best way to do that box. And then that last overhang, I guess don't stop.
It's just all in
I
one
would,
go. To just like hit
yeah.
both tires on it, and to like you have to keep your front wheel just like barely off of that curve, right? And then just slam the brake right when the front
Actually,
wheel gets
I
over.
mean, I think the best way to do it, if you're not stopping, is to hit your front tire first and then your back tire. And then because you hit your front tire first, it helps kick the front tire back out when you hit your back tire.
Okay.
And then that gives you more leniency when you hit brake near the top.
Yeah. Hey, going back to, I don't know, probably not everybody in here. I actually had this question asked yesterday about squishies and what they are. Can you give like a brief like description like for that CP10 of what a squishy means, like in that sense, RJ? If
What, a squishy up that wall?
Yeah, like what is that type of like squishy compared to like others?
That's tough.
I
That's a
know.
tough
Yeah,
question.
people were asking me like I think it was Dougie. I think it was in the stream yesterday. Never really seen that name before, and they're asking what does a squishy mean? I don't think a lot of people understand really the technique that's involved with it.
I don't know. I don't know if I could define that so easily, to be
Yeah.
honest. But
Nice mug, by the way.
yeah, Slick needed to see it.
Yeah. When I think of a squishy, I'm thinking of, okay, like I like to just show like an actual like depiction of it. So you have a ramp, you have a wall that's a lot further away that you cannot just start at the bottom of it and like full speed and jump it to make it to this wall. You have to get more horizontal distance when I think of like a certain squishy. By dragging your back wheel over the tip and basically leaning back and like getting as much surface area to like up really far. But like in this sense, you're going up a 90-degree wall, and there's like this huge ass overhang where you have to jump off of like I don't know what 3/4 of the way up and slam your back
I would
tire
go
into it.
lower.
Yeah,
That's I think the key to that overhang, seriously, is jumping as early as possible with enough speed.
jumping maybe
And it
halfway
makes
up the ramp and then
yeah,
slamming your back tire into the bottom of that overhang and just like
yeah.
praying that you have enough speed is basically
Well,
the
yeah,
squish that you have to
you
have.
want to like because at the end of the day, hitting your back tire is fine. What you don't want to do is hit your engine block or any part of the
Yeah.
because that's what's carrying your momentum. Even if you don't hit your back tire that hard and you're able to carry your center of mass up past the edge because you jump early enough, that's fine and you can get away with it. It's just you can't hit any part of your engine block. You can't like kill your speed at all.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's been really annoying me. I have about a dozen timeouts now, and I think they're mostly all on that checkpoint. I actually had like my best run on it the other day. I got to it in just under 10 minutes. I got to the second last checkpoint, and I just still cannot figure it out for the life of me. It's
Don't
insane.
worry. I was gonna make a tutorial today, but then this happened. So, but maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I would really like to see that to get like a better sense of, I don't know, what I'm missing. My inputs are like it's just fractions of a second off. It's really precise. Um, but going back before we talked about like the concerns and stuff. Oh, so what do you think are some of the like either the most important thing or like a culmination of things that Red Links has done to like really improve the series for this one?
Um, I mean, I think I'm just really happy. I know a lot of people don't like the career mode, but and just like the progression and the grind of it, but I do really like the theming of it and all the track. I think just everything's absolutely beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and all the aesthetics and all the new terrain and new objects and new options is absolutely gorgeous. And I think absolutely just in general, in terms of what they provided in terms of progression for the series, the editor being as like powerful as it is now in terms of being able to resize objects and use objects from both games in the franchise, and all this stuff is just gives so many more tools to creators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like, I didn't like the futuristic aspect as much with Fusion. This is a lot more of a gritty feel to it, and they're showing actual locations around the world in the career, um, which is
Hmm.
even better, like because you can have like good references for stuff. Um, yeah, the scaling. I think we've talked about that. We've said that's probably one of the most important things. I really like, even the smallest details of like being able to show your button inputs, without having to use a third party device is really cool. Um, being able to have the track name on there. However, I would like to try, or I would like to be able to move either like both the button inputs, the track name, the track difficulty. I'd like to move it over to the
Yeah.
bottom right corner because in a lot of like track central stuff, like where it's really intense climbing, your bike is like stuck in the left, like the bottom left corner, and it
Yeah.
blocks the wheels, and I think that's a
Yeah.
huge problem that I think it would be so cool to be able to like move the overlay either to
Wherever you want it.
wherever, like whatever corner, or like yeah, just be able to freely
Yeah.
place it.
That's why I even also like the in my tutorials for the ninja tracks that I'm working on right now, I all my recordings are still using my software to show my button inputs because, by the way, coming out soon, University Trials. Go subscribe. Subtle plug. But because yeah, I just don't like them having them in the bottom left-hand corner. It's so much more balanced in terms of like where your attention is and what's showing up on screen that's important. Like you're hardly ever looking in the bottom right for anything important in terms of your gameplay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So just have it down there. Like I don't know, but
Yeah, I noticed a lot of people put their cams and stuff down there, so I think that would be a great spot.
yeah, something. Oh, sorry,
Oh
go ahead.
no, no, you go ahead,
I was
please.
just gonna say that yes, while I am very excited by the all the options that the editor is giving us and the progression and options, I absolutely am not advocating and saying that it's perfect. I think there's a lot of issues with the current editor in terms of crashing and track save deletion. And I really am confident and hoping that they are going to work it out, especially because they're being a lot more transparent now recently with the changes that they're making. And I do also remember the early Fusion. I had a lot of
Mhm.
saves corrupted. I was when we found out there was like a 50 checkpoint max. I started a 50 checkpoint ninja track, and I got to checkpoint like 37, and then it corrupted like all my
Oh
saves all
no.
at once. Like all my even my backups, it just like corrupted everything.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so I think that there's obviously I'm when I'm talking good about the editor, I'm not saying everything in its current state is perfect. I'm just saying I think shows a lot of promise, and that the tools that they have built to accomplish these things are really exciting. But it does
Yeah.
need a lot of work.
Well, speaking of that, Shogun. announced that there was going to be a post-launch development update. I was kind of reviewing that right now. So this was on March 11th. Shogun released this thing talking about how they received a lot of feedback. They are listening. I don't know how much is really going to be. Actually, we do know how much is going to be done. I don't think everything that we've talked about in the past couple of podcasts is going to be fixed right away. I know for sure that the stadium finals glitch where you are facing off against the best riders in the world, that will be changed up, so you can actually like post PBs and stuff. That was a really big problem. But this is going to be happening next week. We don't know a specific date. The first post-launch patch should be available on all platforms within the next 2 weeks. I'm quoting what Shogun said, and that was on the 11th. So now we have just, I don't know, 1 more week. We'll see what happens for this next one. But yeah, some of the things were based around progression. So, me and Nathan, we talked about this, how I would like to see platinum medals and even diamond medals earning like a shit ton more of XP, for like not having to do contracts literally the entire time. I would just I would rather just try to speed run and hit some gnarly like times instead of do 6 backflips and do a wheelie throughout the entire course or you die. Like
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the most elegant and most straightforward solution to the problem, because I think while for a new player, and obviously I think there are plenty of new players that also hate the grind, but there are a lot of new players that do enjoy the grind and the option to either like go for a harder track, or if they're not, go for this kind of wacky challenge thing, contract on another. But for a lot of the players coming back to the franchise, they just want to get through. They want to unlock the extreme tracks. They want to unlock the hard stuff, and they want to be able to play well and get rewarded for playing well, not for doing 20 backflips. And so, yeah, I think absolutely just providing more experience for platinum and diamond medals is going to do nothing but encourage people to have that option to just play better and get rewarded for that and be able to progress. Because and even if there is still a grind in that, even if there is a grind in the like a similar time amount of grinding, if the player is a better player and they enjoy getting rewarded for playing well, it's gonna not feel as much as a grind if they're spending the same amount of time going for a platinum medal as they were beating it on a donkey with 0 faults. If they get rewarded for getting the platinum medal, even if it's the same amount of time, it's going to feel more rewarding and it's not going to feel as less of a grind. So I think, yeah, it seems like the most straightforward solution to that issue.
Yeah. The next thing that they were going to fix up was the inventory. So I know a lot of us have had problems getting the duplication glitch. I'm sure has everybody witnessed that pretty much?
Yeah.
That like on a global scale?
Everybody, I'm pretty sure.
Literally everybody is getting the duplication glitch. Where I think within the first few days, it didn't happen that fast for me, but all of a sudden it was like boom, I have 800 items in my inventory. I can't earn any more stuff. I can't even sell stuff because it was like, the sponsor content or whatever that that sponsor was, that you literally can't do anything to it. It's just there, like eating up all the space.
There's also like certain items that I guess like there's something different about whatever data is stored in the objects that are like duplicated to your inventory, because certain ones you can and certain ones of the same type you can't delete or you can't sell. So it's really annoying.
Yeah, so like you could sell one thing, and if you wanted to sell that same item, you'd have to like completely back out of the game and then go back in and then try to resell it and just like keep repeating that process over and over again, and it's annoying. It's not that huge of a problem for me because like I'll delete maybe a couple of things if I want to buy, a really funny item on the store. Like if I wanted to buy what was it, the hairy thong where there's like a dick sticking out of this guy's thong. I don't know if you guys saw that that customizable piece yet, but yeah, there's pants where there's just a dick like hanging out of this dude's
Yeah.
thong. I was looking through a bunch the other day, and I was cracking up, looking at some of them. There were some really funny things. But yeah, no, that needs to be fixed right away. And I was reviewing it to see if that was actually uh Gear Store. So on PC, fixed a bug that could prevent shared items from being purchased in the Gear Store. Switch Xbox One fixed a bug that disabled the buy crates option. Xbox One fixed a bug that would cause gear crates to be missing from the inventory when accessing via the level up pop-up. So I don't know. Doesn't look like the duplication thing is on here as of right now,
Unfortunately.
which is unfortunate. But yeah, if you guys are interested in checking out that thread, I'm gonna keep reading over like some of these. We'll jump back and forth between like what they are intending to do and then what they're actually doing, like comparing the Shogun's post to Mr. Dr. Pink was the one, the community manager who posted the actual patch notes for it. And then we haven't talked about the leaderboards yet. That's a bit of an issue. There's been a lot of glitched runs, some being extremely funny, like Canyon Crash. If you guys haven't seen that run yet, I highly recommend it.
That's not even like hacked though. So it's like his run. Well, I don't know. Like
Whose run?
it's I think his name's Steve Codd. He's
Yeah.
like he was 8th on Canyon Crash, basically at the start of the track. Whatever thing that like drops you down glitches out, and he just launches basically to the end of the track. And he still manages to get like 3 faults and doesn't
Yeah.
get world record, but it's funny nonetheless. And you can tell he's not a hacker because like he was so startled by what happened, he just didn't even know what to do afterwards.
It must have been, that was like a 1 in a million glitch that happened to him. I don't know exactly what fucked up the physics, but that is probably one of the greatest runs that I've seen on like a glitched exhibition level. Like I don't even know what to call that. But there is, other people. I think I've seen like Ghost Tactics or something like that is on like first for literally everything, and he's like able to stop. There was a really funny one where he was able to stop near the end of the level, and like he paused there for about 20 seconds, and while he's paused there, his rider's neck starts like elongating really slowly, like off of the bike. You guys will have to check out. I think I even wrote it down. I forgot what level it was on. But yeah, his rider starts like freaking out. His I think his arms start getting all warped, and his neck, like his head, just like starts expanding off the bike really slowly. It was Venice Beach 360. So go watch number 1. Go fast forward number 1 for Venice Beach 360 before it's gone, because it looked absolutely hilarious that like the neck started elongating at the end.
The actual number 1 or like?
Yeah, he was like ranked like globally number 1, but he just goes through the track normally, like pretty slowly, and then he stops at the end, and I don't know, puts in some inputs, glitches out his rider, and then like finishes it, and then his time is reduced.
You know what bugs I want to see? Well, one's not a bug, or well, kind of both aren't bugs, but basically being able to check leaderboards in a track, instead of going to the club, because who wants to go to the club when you could just look at some leaderboards?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I hope happens at some point. Not a huge priority compared to like a lot of the other things in this game right now, but that would be nice to see. And then the other thing is on PC, when you launch your game, you just get ear raped, and that was the
What?
thing in Fusion.
Yeah.
Basically, just from the music until your like cloud settings or whatever like get applied when you start the game actually, and then it goes to volume whatever you have it set at. Except that even gets reset in Rising, which that is a bug where I'll set my music to 0 or whatever, and then it gets reset every time I launch the game. So that's another thing.
I haven't had that issue, but yeah, I definitely that ear rape to start.
Black Sheep was saying that there was a workaround for the inventory glitch, at least for the PlayStation 4. Just close the game, delete the inventory save file, and start the game again. I tried doing the reserved, what is it? The reserve save file on Xbox, and it didn't seem. I mean, it deleted like maybe like 50 to 100 items, but it didn't work that well on me. It just immediately, like after a couple of tracks, it duplicates it again, I think. But
Hmm.
if you're on PlayStation 4, maybe try it out. Maybe delete the reserve save file um or whatever it's called. And then Festival Dust also said, "What about the glitch where the game crashes upon picking the wrong bike?" I had this happen a couple of times where like I'll just be spamming the A button because I assume that the cursor is going to automatically scroll over to the Mantis if you only made that track available to the Mantis. You'd think that it would only be on that option, but it'll like start on the squid and I'll accidentally press A and then it locks. It just locks up the game and you can't do anything. You guys had that happen
Yeah,
too?
yeah. It is just unfortunate how it seems like every iteration of the Child's franchise, that the process of like just getting through the tracks and getting through these UIs and accessing leaderboards and stuff has devolved in a sense.
Yeah.
Like from in Evo, you could, if you set a single bike for a track, it didn't even give you the option, just put you right into the track, because what else? Why would it even give you the option? You don't even
Yeah.
need the option. And Fusion, like, they showed you which option, but you still had to manually select it. And now we have this type of issue with this game. And again, like what RJ was talking about, the leaderboards in Evo, you could watch a replay from the track, playing the track. You could just immediately go to the leaderboards and watch replay. And Fusion comes along, you can look at the leaderboards, but you can't watch the replay. And now we don't even have that. So
Been reducing it
yeah,
So weird.
one after another, man. It is strange. Like I really wanted the slow mo back as well. Slow mo
oh
was
yeah,
it was so huge.
yeah,
We've discussed that last time. I was a huge fan because going over it really quickly, I learn a lot watching slow motion and being able to pause it and go like just constantly like not frame by frame perfectly, but like almost with that slow mo effect. Seeing where people either hit their tire on a bounce, seeing how they or seeing exactly like when they do the button inputs. It's really important to be able to slow it down. But I guess you could do it on YouTube. You could just slow down the time in the options menu. But anyways, going back to the post launch development update stuff. Um, we already talked about the gear crates. People weren't receiving them when they were leveling up.
oh
I
yeah. I'm
I
getting that.
personally didn't really see it happen to me like too often. I've been saving them up because I have I have so many dupes. I'm probably just gonna save up until either they release more equipment on the store, like if once a huge update comes out, I'll probably have we'll have a whole stream. Oh, whoopee, we got a 1,000 gear crate opening for 2 hours. Get all the clickbait titles going. Um, but yeah, you guys have had that happen where the gear crates just don't happen. They don't appear.
Yeah, I think I've leveled up. I I've leveled up like in the last 20 levels, and I've only gotten like 2 grades. So
Hmm.
I don't know what that's about. Yeah, Matt was telling us how he's missed out like on 100. Yeah.
Mm. And lastly,
Oh.
the track editor saves and Track Central. So they've been hearing reports that the track editor save files are going missing. They're trying to identify it still. I wanted to see what they actually had for the patch notes. So for Track Central, all platforms fixed a bug that caused the menu to become unresponsive on the rating screen after completing a track. All platforms fixed a bug that could cause players' rating to not be counted after rating a custom track. And then another one for all platforms fixed a bug that caused a connection lost error to appear after reporting a track.
Sounds
So
about right.
yeah, that one didn't necessarily say anything about like the save files getting screwed up. That was exclusive to Track Central. The track editor,
Just track editor files going missing. Team is working on identify why.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like Switch fixes for the track editor. Is there anybody in here that has tried the editor on Switch? Is it really crazy on that? That work properly at all?
I can't even imagine
I
doing the
couldn't see
editor.
that either.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm honestly like I haven't tried it on Switch. I only played the build on Switch when I was actually in Finland at their headquarters playing on one of their Switches when they were running early builds on that. And maybe it's gotten a lot better since then, but I'm just surprised that people even enjoy playing it on Switch. Just like, but if you do, all the power to you, and I couldn't be happier for you.
It's just the
But yeah,
convenience, yeah, of like having the Switch to just play whenever. I think is really cool that they're able to add it to that console. Be sweet.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
there
it's
was
great that they were able to do that.
there's a track editor fix for PC. I don't know if you saw that one yet, but fix a bug that could cause a game to get stuck in the options menu after changing between full screen and windowed mode. I don't know if you've had that happen to you either, you guys.
I haven't switched that type of stuff in a while, so I don't know.
Okay, probably not then. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Um, what do you guys think is like the top priority for a fix, or like multiple top priorities for fixes?
Fixes, I'd say leaderboards. Obviously, I'm not talking about cheaters, like getting rid of cheater scores. I know that's always a concern when the game comes out and people are finding exploits and stuff.
Yeah,
But I think they are pretty vigilant, and just generally, even through evolution and fusion, they were pretty good at getting rid of cheaters over time. And I don't think anybody's really concerned that Gamer Boy XX39 is going to be #1 of all time for the next year and a half.
yeah, you're gonna see the run and you're gonna be like, oh no, this is a dog shit run. Like this isn't legit.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna quit out of it and actually go the next person. So
yeah.
it's pretty easy to see that kind of stuff, and you know who some of the top runners are. It's pretty well known with like the top 10 actual
Yeah.
speed runners.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Gamer Boy X. And yeah, like Wisty, I think performance on console, it's obviously been a big issue for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I can't personally speak to that as a PC player, but in terms of just general mechanics bugs, I'd say leaderboards and making sure the editor people aren't worried about losing shit on their editor and like their saves and stuff. I think
Yeah, I'm getting worried
really big.
about that now. I'm in the works of a track, and I'm worried
Yeah.
because, like, if you're starting to make tracks for the first time, and then that shit happens to you, like, you're not gonna like that's gonna be an immediate like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, definitely.
It's such an integral part to like the learning process, being able to have a bunch of backups, and have the opportunity to like actually post stuff without it being lost. Like, dude, I would just be so agitated if it was my first track and I spent like weeks working on one, and I'd just be like, all right, I'm just not gonna build. I'm not gonna learn any more editor stuff. That's it. Like, and then the game's done, and then you're on to the next game, and then people don't realize just like how amazing the editor can be. We know what it's capable of. We know that we can push boundaries on this game, and that's what it's really about. And like, making obstacles that are fun for yourself that you think people would enjoy, and then just losing it. It's so, I don't know. That has to be so agitating for you guys. I'm glad that I haven't really had that that opportunity to lose stuff. But I definitely have, but I haven't spent that much time in it compared to so many.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, has anyone experienced losing? Well, I guess it's hard to tell the difference, but in Fusion, you just lose all your saves. So
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's experienced that, but
Yeah, I mean, I had that happen, but like again, I was only making like a couple of checkpoints for like several different tracks, and I never really finished anything, so it wasn't that big of a problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, think we can move on to the next
Well,
topic
RJ,
here, unless you got
did
something.
you have anything, I said a couple bugs, but like, what are your biggest like bugs that you think should be fixed?
The stadium finals, I think,
Yeah.
would be good. I don't know how many people have experienced this other than Scott, but his skill game score is just like 200k or something higher than it's supposed to be, I
Really?
guess.
What the hell?
So yeah, that's
Oh.
why he's number one.
What?
There's like
Got
he's
stuff
number
going on there
one.
now? The
I,
rodeo
well, I don't know if he is
champion.
still, but he should be, I think.
That's funny.
He's a rodeo god.
Yeah,
So
I think
really strange.
especially considering like there are people that like people that are more involved in the community, the people that we're more likely to interact with on a daily basis with trials can reach out and be like, why is the stadium finals like so hard, or what's going on? But like your casual player who just bought the game and is being met with number one player in the world or something, like what are they supposed to think about that? Like,
Yeah.
and these like, yeah, I think it's definitely something that needs to be dealt with.
um, yeah, one of the major fixes for me is like leaderboards as well. Um,
Mhm.
I think there's been a couple of tracks. It's been happening more on it's all on Track Central. Is like if your track was rated as a ninja and you got like extended time on it, like over 30 minutes, I think you wouldn't be posted on there necessarily. I think there's some other weird stuff going on with Track Central leaderboards that need to be looked at a lot more closely. That's a big thing, definitely for me. But um, I think another like an overall topic that I was thinking of like over the past week was so what is like the life cycle? Like, what do you think is the I guess what do you guys see like Trials Rising looking like in a year or two? Like, is it gonna like what is I don't know. Like, they really need to fix up some of this stuff for people to like get really engaged with it again. Um, yeah, I know there's been a lot of criticism over like the bike physics as well. Um, are people going to get over that? Is the life cycle of Rising going to be a swift death, or what's it going to be like for the like a big chunk of the community? Do you think? Any ideas?
I mean, I think as long as like the editor and Track Central is not completely broken for the most part, it'll like the game will always be alive, like
At least for me and you,
for most
yes.
of the community.
Yeah, for like the
But
main community here.
I mean, I know the like ninjas specifically for some people have already like they're already done with the game,
Yeah.
and like I know some people have caved
Yep.
on that, like they said like they won't play the game and then they did or they do. But I mean, definitely some people just cannot handle the new physics.
Yeah, I think we're definitely we're gonna see a lot of people going back to playing Fusion a lot. Just like when Fusion came out, a lot of people went back and played Evo a lot. Still, I think both games are still gonna be played for a little bit. Like with Fusion, kind of like everybody shifted over, and then there were slowly people trickled back, and then both games started having some content. And after over time, those people that did trickle backwards eventually made their way back to Fusion.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm sure we'll see something similar.
I'm sure I'll
Maybe
be
I
back
don't know.
to Fusion as well. Like, I'm not done with that game, and I would love to have um, Evo on Xbox One, but that's still not it's still not a game on the store, which is really crazy to me. We have HD, we had that for free. I wish that they would have Evo, of like a free to play game eventually on the store. But yeah, like it's so good to have first impressions for even just regular interactions with people in real life. Like, it's the same thing with games. If people don't have a good first initial reaction to it, like we're gonna lose that that new crowd that doesn't understand like what is capable, of course, in this game, and having um a community that's I don't want everybody to get like too split up with like how the physics are. Like if you enjoy the other game, I say play it. Just play it, man. Enjoy it, however it is. But um, yeah, no, it's tough to have the community split up on the idea that the physics aren't the same. I don't want the physics to be the same. Like for me personally, I like the challenge of having this bike that you're gonna have to remaster basically to expand and like push the limits of this game yet again, because I think that's what we do in this community. At least that's what I like to do. Is I like to just keep challenging myself with these physics based games. But I don't know. Do you guys have that mentality as well? That like you don't really care necessarily about how different it feels. You like that sense of a new a new concept, new bike.
I mean, I wouldn't have cared like if the physics were the same. Like I don't need new physics. I don't think a lot of people would care as much if, in the early games they didn't switch up the way the bike works in every game, so we're just used to that changing, or at least somewhat used to it. So it's like people expect it to change, but if that wasn't a thing originally, I don't think people would be so upset when it does change. So, yeah, I mean, that's my thought.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the general idea of physics changing, I think there's ups and downs to it, and obviously, like we see people react to it differently, and I don't think there's ever going to be a right answer. But I think it's absolutely within people's right to criticize changes. And I know there are a lot of people that see this physics change as comparable to the Evo fusion physics change, and there are a lot of people that see it as completely different. So,
yeah.
um,
Raffle Master was saying new physics will be fun for a while, like at first, but in the long term it'll start annoying you because it's nerfed. So
mhm.
the aspects that
Yeah.
I think that you're talking about, Raffle, is like so the FAP is like insanely hard. It feels like the back end of the bike is really heavy, and it's hard to fap.
Oh my.
We're not gonna call it flapping in this community. It's fapping. All right, you guys got to get that through your head. But yeah, that is a big aspect that was nerfed. I would say that the front wheel suspension is really really bad. Like it bottoms out like insanely fast, and you don't have the same kind of bounce as you did on Fusion or Evo even. I don't really remember the Evo physics all that well. I wasn't around the community when Evo. I still feel like I need to go back and actually put a lot more time into that game to be able to compare it to that. Um, but I think the type of technical and climbing stuff that we can pull off in this game will be pretty astounding. Just from what I've seen so far,
Mhm.
I think climbing will definitely be the meta. I know not everybody is down for that, and I've noticed that there are some problems if you're making a back wheel only track that has back wheel only vertical climbing in it. Um, it doesn't even look like your front wheel touches the wall, yet it still somehow uh, makes you crash. Is like something that I'm a bit worried about. Maybe I don't know. We need to add some different like custom collisions. I'm not sure what the solution will be for that. Um, just giving you my personal opinion on like what techniques I think can be more prominent.
Mhm. I mean, I don't think necessarily just the fact that, again, I'm personally like not too upset with the general change in physics in that regard, like with the climbing and stuff. But at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily like a step like further at all necessarily that it's better at climbing, just because I think, yes, while right now it feels interesting and saying it might be impressive and what people can do with the climbing is impressive, I think in time when people get more used to it, it'll become the new standard and there won't really be any actual shift in the meta in terms of climbing. It's just a climb that would have been half as long on Fusion is now a little bit longer on Rising.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that has really like it, while it seems like more of a meta change right now, I don't think it's going to end up actually changing much in the long run.
And And talking about the life cycle of Trials Rising, I was thinking back to like, what are some other genres of games that um that have lasted the test of time, and games that I think have insanely long life cycles uh have the community constantly, or having the developers constantly update stuff. I just hope that they're able to keep updating and coming out with these patches, at least on a monthly basis. I think that would be really cool. But like, I think of Rainbow Six Siege for a game that has like insanely long lasting material. I don't necessarily play that game that much anymore. However, I still watch a lot of videos, and I constantly watch the updates and DLC and stuff for it. Um, but yeah, no, the community like development team is phenomenal. I believe for that game, how they're just able to um, spice it up with a lot of different operators and stuff. Like, I want to see. I heard that there's going to be a couple of new bikes. Like, that'll be interesting to see. You know, maybe the next DLC will include something that feels just like the Pit Viper again. Who knows? Like, it's definitely a possibility. Um,
Hmm.
what do you guys have any other games in particular that you noticed either the life cycle was like insanely good on, or what's a good example of a game that had a really short life cycle, and why?
I mean, one example of a long life cycle is Counter Strike. That game has been alive for like 20 years or
Mm,
something like that,
Hmm.
and the devs on that game are super transparent, and they are still constantly updating their game. And I mean, yeah, that's the best way to go about it, I think, is just constantly update and constantly tell your community what you're going to be doing and take feedback in and use that and actually, listen to your community.
yeah.
Don't give them too much credit though. They did put out the R8, so like
Oh yeah, sure.
you gotta be careful. Can't.
They had like the black market of
Broke
like
the
loot
game for a
boxes
week.
too, right? Whole black market going
Yeah.
on. People paying
Also, yeah.
insane amounts
I
of
mean,
money.
yeah. Advantage your point. I mean, I don't want to turn this into a CS:GO
Yeah, no, let's
discussion,
not
but
go too far
but
with it.
transparent is like I would not describe like the CS:GO devs as necessarily like super transparent. Like there's I know like just being involved like going over to League of Legends a little bit where like something comes out and a dev is in the subreddit talking about it with the person that posted that issue within like 45 minutes, and like CS:GO community is like, "Oh, sick, dude. They made a patch note somewhat related to what we talked about in less than 5 months." We're damn, we have the best devs, like I think just the bar is kind of low in certain situations.
Hmm.
Anyways, I don't want to get off track
Yeah, let's
off
not get
topic
too
with
off
this.
topic with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was something I just kept like bringing back to my mind, was like just the life cycle of games and like genres in particular. And what's in right now is all the battle royale games. I imagine that those will be lasting for quite a long time. Um, these really hard platformers, I don't really know like what the statistics are on those, if they've like had huge spikes in like playing and like keeping alive for a long time, and then they just like have dropped, and I don't know. Do you guys know if like any? I feel like hard platformers are a dime a dozen. Like,
Hmm.
there's actually so many of them, but like they don't, not all feel original. Like, they just don't feel right. But Trials is something that, gosh, it's all about the community of like maintaining focus for me. It's all about people making tracks, and now I've had quite the urge for the past year of actually building stuff, and like that type of motivation for a game is like the other piece of keeping a life cycle alive, is just like just having the community be, you know, being able to make really, I don't know, creative stuff is like just a whole other step, because you don't see that type of creativity in a whole lot of other games. Pretty special for this.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what it's got
just
going.
how versatile the editor is will always keep this game. Like I don't think the game can ever like truly die in that and people like will
Unless
say
people
they're
keep
under
losing
super.
their saves, and then that's like
Yeah, yeah,
move back
and
to
people
that.
always would continue to say like all the original. And I know like there's a lot of people that still hold this opinion that everything that to be done has been done in trials, and especially because of Rising's nerfed mechanics, like it's all done anyways. Like we've already beat a dead horse in terms of what to see in Ninja Tracks, but I think there's still plenty of room for creativity and new things to see and experience in Ninja Tracks. And like I've tried to do my part in show that that's possible, and I think there's lots of other creators that are still putting out really creative, interesting, wacky things that are new and refreshing. And
Yeah. Speaking of which,
I don't think, yeah, as long as we're still able to be as versatile and stuff with the editor and people don't lose their damn saves, I think we'll still be able to be having fun, and people of all different skill levels will continue to be able to have fun with this game.
yeah. Speaking of creativity, um, I think the beer pong skill game. I don't even remember who made that, but that is one of the coolest skill games I have seen, and I think that would be like an actual like career skill game that they could add. Maybe not beer pong, but um, with the different connotations towards it. But like that skill game is like insanely well done. I wish that you could have more attempts to like, or you could expand on that idea a lot more. But I thought of a lot more skill games that I think would be pretty viable for this game. Um, One of which would be, I think did we talk about billiards last time? I think there could be a really fun billiards like skill game that you could drive around and like hit the ball and do like a full 9 ball or 8 ball game. Um, Another one. So it was the last day of playing Fusion, and
Hmm.
Slick shared a track, and it was like a demolition derby, or it was like a bowl where everybody would be like spinning around in the same place, and that was just a really goofy skill game that you could play with buddies. Like I think expanding upon a multiplayer type of idea, doing a demolition derby would be a really fun idea addition to like a multiplayer. Like we've talked about how to expand upon multiplayer
Yeah.
games, so people can have more fun. But demolition derby up there, and like a putt golf even too, like golf with your friends with like trials, I think would be insane as well. I just don't know how to like even have the right logic
Yeah.
for that stuff.
Something that we were hoping for in Fusion, I remember when it came out. So in Evo, you can make Supercross tracks with like different driving lines, kind of. It's hard to describe,
Yeah.
but like it would be like segmented stuff. And then in Fusion, when they brought out that you could do like certain events and stuff, we were like, oh shit, you could make a fucking like battle royale in Supercross where like one person hits a button, they jump off and they hit a button and it creates an obstacle in the other person's path or
That's an
something.
awesome idea. Yes.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's the whole multiplayer thing is just an illusion. It's all just one driving line, and then it just projects your image further back on the driving line.
Mm,
There. So like,
Yeah.
yes, people make tracks every driving line. Like, there's like 8 ramps, right? But only the one in the very front actually has physics. The other ones are just there to maintain the illusion. So, uh, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I think that would have been something that would have been sick to see, or if they even do that in the future with more the private multiplayer stuff that they're coming out with,
mm,
that would be awesome. Because you could, I mean, who can even think of the limits of something like that and the types of multiplayer games you could make, and with interaction between driving lines and events and stuff
yeah.
with Supercross.
There's so much opportunity for this stuff. But going back to some other skill games that I just like randomly got in my head that I think would be really fun to imagine would be like one where you have a pinball machine, like you bail out at the beginning of it, and you just go through and you have like left and right trigger the paddles. You could probably do like left bumper, right bumper as well for like other additional like extra bumpers. Um,
Wasn't there an HD skill game, something like that?
I don't
Or
remember.
am I remember? I'm maybe I'm just
If you guys know in the chat, man, has there ever been a pinball machine type of skill game in the trial series before? Let me know. I'd like to see it.
I feel like there was. Maybe I'm
I thought there was one on HD maybe.
could be
Or
totally wrong.
And a lot of these ideas. So I've been watching like more Rocket League videos, And there's been some pretty crazy developments by a pro player that has been making um, like skill games, basically, like making these maps. Um, I think air hockey could be a possibility as well. Like I could just see so many different skill games with like air hockey, a foosball table, like ping pong. I don't know if that was. I think tennis was an additional skill game on Fusion, right? They're like
Well,
a
there was
tennis
like
skill
the
game.
penguin tennis Easter
Yeah,
egg.
that's the one that Lorcan always talked about being like amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
that was fun.
you could have like a darts game. You know, you drive down a huge ramp, you bail out, have to win a game of darts. Um,
Mhm.
you know, you could do. It's endless. There's so many endless things, but it's just being able to apply it to the editor is like a whole other question that I have no clue how to even go about. But
Yeah, I know some of you had on this was like card games. I actually made I didn't publish it because I was running into a lot of issues with the editor. Again, like the whole Fusion lifecycle, like so many of my builds on Fusion, you could see like, and this patch broke the PC editor. So like like the starting and stopping of projects on Fusion. But I actually made a not Texas Hold'em, a blackjack skill game.
nice,
That you
nice.
just play against the house, and it randomizes like which cards you get dealt based on like times, and you can bet, and you have like, and the skill game was basically just like you play 10 rounds of blackjack, and however many chips you have at the end is your like leaderboard score.
I'd like to see like a
But
Uno,
yeah,
an Uno, or like a slap skill game where you can just like I don't know, jump on the stack once you can slap. That'd be really funny. But let's see, what was the next thing? Oh, other stuff related to Track Central tracks. So Nugget made this track on Fusion where it's really janky, but he turned it into a 3D obstacle course. How you could just like roam around the map and just kind of
oh,
do whatever you want. Have you guys tried that one? You guys ever see that?
I haven't.
I
I
streamed
don't
it
know if I've seen
once
it.
a long time ago.
that was the one on the bicycle, or that was which one was that?
I can't remember. I just
I
remember that
remember that one.
Nugget made this one. It wasn't necessarily an obstacle course, but it was like a free roam, you know, like a skate park basically. And it was on a three-dimensional plane, and it was actually insane. I was wondering what would this game be like if it was more streamlined to be like three-dimensional as well. If you could go into three-dimensional platforming along with the 2D like normal trials. What would it be like?
Uh,
Worse.
yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to be as precise. I mean, there's
Yeah.
already so much randomness involved. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before with me and Josh about why like blindfold runs of trials aren't really a thing. It's because there's just so much randomness that's introduced with the physics
Hmm.
that the second you leave the starting platform, the way that the exact percentage of how your front your front suspension compresses the second you leave the platform is going to influence everything else that happens in the rest of your run or whatever. So the more elements you introduce, the more randomness and the harder it is to actually control whatever you're doing when real physics are involved. And
It's really tough for that Nugget skill game, or if I don't even remember. I think it was a skill game, but yeah, you'd be facing, or like the back of the rider was facing you, and you couldn't really see the front. That was like the only issue that I was kind of having with like almost yeah, first person mode. You know, there's been some tracks like that too. Price. Those are some really interesting ones where it was like you're just wearing the Oculus, and it's extremely dizzy. Um, I don't think that Trials will ever come to the VR because people are gonna get sick instantly if they try to go through a Trials track on that. It was actually so hard to drive through that. But there were several tracks that were like that. Like uh, there was a crazy parkour course on Fusion that I really liked. That was an interesting way to go about it. But you weren't on a bike. It was a little more of a platformer of just jumping around and stuff. But
who, who are your guys' favorite creators to see maybe come back making stuff
well, that's a good one.
this game?
Jamaican.
I heard Lulzman.
Comeback.
Lulzman's making the comeback.
Oh,
Is he?
Yeah,
It's
he was
interesting.
in my chat.
Yeah, we saw that. I
talking.
saw Zach sent me a Snapchat.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
was like, the first thing he said was like, "I'm back, bitches." That's like the first thing. But yeah, no, I'd like to see Jamaican Lulzman. Definitely.
Jamaican
excited.
has the game now, I know that, but he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He tried it, he doesn't like it.
I'm excited to
Yeah.
see Callie and Hagel coming back. I saw he made a track recently. I think he actually put one out, and it was pretty cool. I just remember him making a lot of bangers in like Evo and
Yeah.
Fusion, and he hasn't been around for a while.
I was
Obviously Zach, like
yeah.
obviously more Zach tracks, more the merrier.
Trav made a really good one.
Always.
Trav just made a
I
great one
miss
the other day.
Trav made a track. I didn't
Yeah.
actually miss that one. What's it called?
Solid. I think it was something like that. But yeah, Lulzman I think is, that was like one of RJ's top picks, and I there's so many
Yeah.
amazing tracks that Lulzman made that was like kind of
Mhm.
game changing to like. I think a lot of really good front wheel back wheel tracks were made by Lulzman. Hopefully he'll be able to transfer over and do some like technical climbing stuff. I'm sure he can. He's a very talented builder. Another builder for me. I just started talking to Murdoch, and I've heard, and I actually played. He had a pretty wacky track. It was pretty short, but the last checkpoint was insanity. But Murdoch apparently has, he's made some very classic tracks in the past, and I've been talking to him. He's a Portland homie, and hopefully we'll be able to grab a drink with him whenever he's back up here. I've been in contact with him a little bit more on Facebook, but yeah, he's been a builder. He's been quite the player for quite some time since HD, right? Been around.
Yeah.
So he's a veteran that I think definitely makes some stuff. I think Two Vine has made some insane tracks so far. Two Vine has a couple of really interesting tracks. I don't really remember any on Fusion by Two Vine. Anybody know any tracks by that person? But
No, I'm not familiar.
those have been really good. Champy has already made a couple of really great tracks. Slick, of course, I can't wait to see what Slick comes up with to push the boundaries of this game. I'm always anticipating. I really want to try out that Scorn. That was I like the easy version a lot. I could only do the first checkpoint on the hard version. I could not quite do the second CP yet, but yeah, people pushing the boundaries. It's always fun to see. Another, I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on like track builders that you want to see like make a decent comeback, or should we move on?
I don't have anything. I don't think.
Nothing else,
I
RJ?
want to see the level 8 front wheel only track.
Yeah, you got to make front
Basically
wheel
just
afterburner.
front wheel God and Rising, basically just poured it over. Would definitely be level 8.
Probably. Yeah, it'd be rough. Gonna have to find
Definitely
some
not
different
impossible.
ways around the front wheel stuff for sure. A topic that was brought to my attention, and we talked a little bit about this in my last stream, was the ability to create your own contracts for levels. You guys hear about that at all? Have you guys ever thought of like trying to create your own contracts while you're on the track editor?
I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people go to Track Central to escape that, right? But I mean, I think there's going to be a market for anything like that. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd necessarily be into it. I know, like, a lot of us were thinking about when we first started breaking into the game files of Fusion, and we found the objects that actually gave people achievements and challenges. I don't think anybody actually did it because that would be entirely irresponsible, but you could theoretically like give somebody an achievement, like an actual Uplay achievement for doing something in your custom track. Like if you pull the right levers. I don't know. I think that like, there's just definitely like appeal.
I would like
to,
contracts a lot more.
like,
That's the only
yeah.
thing, is like I would actually enjoy them, I think, significantly more if I can make a contract say we were joking around with it, but some of these ideas are pretty fucking nuts. Like like finish black belt while on fire. Like your bike gets sets on fire at the beginning of every checkpoint, and you just have to like go through the checkpoints insanely fast. Like that would turn that track into a pretty tough ninja level all of a sudden. Like way harder.
You could not do 10. That would be impossible for sure.
Why
impossible.
not? Getting enough like build up speed to like immediately jump and like just breeze through it. I don't know. You're gonna have to have maybe a little bit higher of a timer possibly on the fire.
Just put a 100 backflip contract on Wraith 2 Slick, and I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, finish the donkey on Wraith. There we go. That'd be a great one. Try out.
Yeah.
How about
That's
having
worth my 5,000 XP? Thank you.
How about having like a different like speed modifier? Like if you could go past 500%, you go up to like 1,000% speed for like I don't know on some crazy ninja like track. It'd be really funny.
I mean,
to
that's kind of basically like what we're doing in like multiplayer when
you
play like hard ass tracks with just like 50% gravity.
It is, yeah, and mess with gravity. That'd be a great one too. Like let's mess with gravity for contracts. Make it really heavy. Make it really light. There's so many like I just love fucking around with that stuff. You guys have seen my streams on multiplayer do that, and I don't know. It'd be fun to be able to share that. I think with everybody else, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more options, the merrier, as long as it's clear what's going on. I know there's just generally lots of issues, like not being clear, like with uploading, like what difficulties are and stuff. I haven't gone through the process myself, so. But a lot of people talk about there's being confusion about like what all the settings are and stuff. As long as it didn't muddy the process at all.
Yeah, Price put something in the chat was saying they better make the tandem usable in online multiplayer. Now,
oh, absolutely,
yeah, that would be amazing. However, having the delay from like one user to the other while you're trying to ride through an extreme or harder track might be not really attainable. Is like what I think have discussed before. But yeah, I think the tandem could definitely use some multiplayer love.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's not like anybody's gonna be writing 1,000-page like rants about the fucking tandem bikes physics is slightly off. Like nobody actually gives a shit. I don't think anybody's
it's just
doing
a fun
anything
time
competitive with it. Yeah, I think they just need to implement it just for the sake of giving the full experience of the bike and giving people more options. And yes, the lag is going to cause issues and it might make it frustrating a little bit, but it's not like anybody's actually going to be taking it too seriously. I think just being able to hop into a multiplayer match, just be like, yo, me and my boy, we're gonna try to do this ninja level 1 track. Let's see what happens, Just have fun with it.
Yeah, I think, I was even talking to Droll about it. He was like, dude, I found some other techniques that you can do on the tandem. Like if you use the dead body in the back to like block obstacles and like go through stuff, is actually such a crazy idea. And
yeah, you can do like super high bunny hops by like jumping off the dead torso of your friend.
Yeah, exactly. You can make like a bridge like off of your dead buddy basically to like complete stuff. Is such a cool idea. I'd like to see a ninja tandem like incorporate different types of skills that you can't do on other bikes. And I heard that a decent way, if you're forever alone and that you're playing on the tandem by yourself, is to try to stack the controllers on top of each other.
Oh my fucking god.
To try to do it that way is like apparently the better strategy. I've just been using both my hands like separately. Like been using my pinky on the A button and then leaning with, my index finger, and then I do the opposite. Like I'm leaning with my left pinky and hit the throttle with like my with the A button with my left index, and it actually seemed to work out a lot better than trying to use my feet. That was impossible. Like trying to use the throttle with my the big toe.
But I think as long as they keep giving us more abilities to do things that don't involve actually making friends, and we allow us to be lonely.
Yeah.
Because none of us actually have friends, so we don't actually have somebody to do.
You can get the double fap going on. You got to use both hands. The double fap action.
Yeah.
Finish it off faster. You know what I mean?
I'm quite familiar with that action, actually.
Oh, good.
Oh wait, shit, I forgot. Okay, never mind. We're talking about something different.
Talking about flapping.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, flat. All
Yeah,
right. All right. See,
like a bird.
I have to use that terminology to describe that
Hmm.
because University of Trials. YouTube.com says University of Trials. Oh fuck.
Oh, that reminds me. So I forgot to put this down on like the podcast topics and whatnot for us. But how are the tutorials going for uh
Yeah.
you said you were
So
working on ninja stuff, right? So fill people in kind of
yeah.
like what you're doing.
So just coming. Ninja knowledge is coming back, fortunately, for University Trials. Hopefully, well, because I just kind of stopped in Fusion just arbitrarily because I was just doing so much other stuff,
Mm,
and now I'm back to making videos for University of Trials. Starting off just making tutorials for the ninja tracks and that are in career mode, and then going back after that this summer, hopefully to making like more technique videos and breaking down actual techniques
yeah,
in depth with like hopefully high quality tutorials
yeah.
and
Hopefully.
I've
descriptions.
always thought about that more. I've discussed like going over an entire video on squishies, for instance, and showing a
Hmm.
ton of different tracks with a ton of different scenarios and like kind of go to like the overall gist of like what is supposed to happen with a squishy. I think would be I'd like to see
Hmm.
that a lot and try to because like I'm really inspired to like try to work on track central ninjas and go over you know um
Yeah.
tracks and stuff. Really fun. I think I
There,
like to do it on stream mostly because I don't know how to edit and I think it would just it would take me forever to learn it. So it'll come eventually, but for now I will probably just like give techniques and my insight on stream for the most part.
hmm
How about
there,
RJ though? Like I know that you want to be able to break down like the Red Links ninjas so people
Hmm.
get a better sense of that.
Yeah, I was gonna make the black belt tutorial today, actually, and
Oh boy.
oh yeah,
forgot we had a podcast. But yeah, I figured I'd start. I was gonna start with white and then just work my way up, but then I had so many people question me about black, so
I think black
figured.
belt
yeah.
would be a lot more
I'm
better.
going sequentially. I'm starting at white and going sequentially.
Yeah.
So you have absolute free reign.
And you guys are gonna meet in the middle, and then you guys can like discuss like kind of
Yeah.
like alternative techniques, basically, of like going through obstacles. I think is something that people want to hear. They want to hear what's the most efficient way maybe of going over it. What's the like if you're trying to go for a really fast run, like what's the best way for that? How do you set it up? Yada yada, so on and so forth. Be really cool, I think, to see in some trials videos because we haven't really had that many of that. We see the University of Trials, Professor Fat Shady been doing extremes, and those are really well done, really
Hmm.
professional quality. And I love that he's able to slow it down and talk about each individual obstacle. And great.
And yeah, another thing, just really quick, I want to mention also. This is a little bit further off, but is a project alongside Ninja Central. I don't know if you guys know Ninja Central, but if you don't, you should. It's a great resource and it's an awesome website for all things related to ninjas. But we talked to Ice a little bit about building up a ninja dictionary, so to speak, of all sorts of stuff like types of techniques, names for techniques, and their definitions, and potentially links to tutorials and demonstrations of how they're done. And because there's just a lot of questions people have about ninjas. So that's something we're hoping to build in the future as well.
Mm. I want to make like I think it'd be really cool to get a bunch of us together, um, outside of the podcast, but like have a talk kind of like that and go over ninja history and like go over kind of the progression through ninjas throughout like all of the series. I think would be a really interesting video. What do you guys think? Like different riders that have surfaced, um, the different types of tracks that have come forth,
Make a timeline,
make a timeline
basically.
exactly of like, um, yeah,
That would
Charles
be
HD through Rising so far.
be a big
That'd be
project, probably.
that'd be a big project. Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, but
Yeah,
that'd be cool to see.
just an idea. I've just been running a bunch of these ideas through my head. Nothing. I mean, I've wrote like a ton of outlines and stuff, but haven't really followed through too much with it. Um, but I think I'll be getting a lot more time here pretty soon in the spring and summer to try to sit down and actually work on editing stuff and talking with a lot more of the community about yeah different ideas. I think would be awesome. I want to keep expanding with this community and have all these interesting, have a lot more different videos come out rather than just have people having these sick runs and stuff. I'd like to expand a lot more. But I think we're nearing the closing. I think we're gonna conclude this pretty soon. Also, RJ, do you guys have any other thoughts or like topics that you want to maybe discuss really quick that we didn't really cover? I don't know if I covered everything on our sheet here. I think we got most of it.
Not really.
Oh, you know what? We didn't really go over. Let's quickly go over the best user created tracks so far, in our opinions. I wrote down a few. One definitely being Solstice, Zach's new track.
Solstice was amazing.
Solstice is amazing. He cranked that out within the first week, and that track looks like it belongs on the Career Ninjas. Honestly, really well done with that.
He's almost done with another track as well.
Yeah,
I just learned.
Yeah, he said that he decorated about 6 out of 7 checkpoints the other day, so I'm really excited to see that. Another track I really liked, one of the hardest tracks I've beaten so far, was Ephemeral. It was a rocky track. Now, the decoration wasn't there, unfortunately, on this track. The track was insanely hard for me to get down with like the climbing. I think this pushed some of the boundaries for me, at least, with climbing and like what this bike is capable of. That was a fantastic track. It was also marked as an easy track on Track Central, which is kind of iffy. I wish that was not the case, but still, nonetheless, it was a really good climbing track that I enjoyed. Fukin, Minna came out with his back wheel track instantly. Loved that. Dad's Belt, I saw RJ zero faulted that, and a couple other people I think zero faulted that. Where would you rate that one on like with the other Ninja Redlings tracks, RJ?
I'd say it's like it's like basically the same as Green, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little easier. I'm not sure though. I can't remember honestly. I'm so bad with difficulty around like level 3, level 4, level 5.
Yeah,
I think at this point
it starts melding. Like, yeah, I can't really tell like 1 to 2, and like sometimes 3s are a little bit iffy in my opinion. Like once you reach the higher level ninjas, like you've gotten consistent to the point where you don't really understand like how much different a 3 is, like an easy 3 is from like a harder 2, and then you get those base or the borderline tracks.
Yeah.
Any other tracks?
I'm always gonna. No, go ahead.
Is there any other tracks that you guys have seen? Like, it doesn't have to be a ninja track. Have you guys seen some really good extremes or like skill games as well?
I haven't played much Track Central at all.
Oh, really?
I haven't either, honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Well, I'll give out a couple more opinions on some stuff then. I already said Scorn and Scorn Easy are already really, really good. I think Scorn is like a pretty decent level 6 track in the Trials Rising setting, which is awesome to see that already. Frost was another one that I played that the other day. That was a fantastic, I'd probably call it like a medium or harder level 4 ninja that Two Vine made. That had some pretty interesting like technical stuff on that as well. And the skill games, I already went over Beer Pong. That's probably my top pick right now. And then there was Ace Combat skill game that was made where you're just literally flying around and just blowing up like a few missiles. It is incredible how people are able to do that. I don't even know where to start with that. Murdoch's Extreme.
Yeah, little games, these really complex skill games, I think, are just proof of concept things they're saying. I think, like I was telling Josh earlier, like if that Ace Combat thing comes out that quick, there's somebody working on something just as complex, but like with full fleshed out levels and design, and something we're going to see a couple weeks from now. Like I think we're going to get blown away pretty soon.
Yeah, like I've seen like Dark Sector. That was another one by Tuvine. Shane said Murdoch's Extreme. That's a good one, definitely. I want to see a lot more stuff from Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
Very good player. That's going to be making a comeback. He said he's grabbing his stuff pretty soon and will be available, I think, a lot more. Let's see, what other one? Oh, the dot race. I was just playing that right at the beginning of the stream before the podcast started. You know, just fun little mini games like that. It's always enjoyable to switch it up, I think, in the series. But yeah, that's it for me. Final thoughts, you two.
No, not much. I'm just excited to see what else is to come. Keep them playing, keep them busy, and yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad you.
Thanks for
guys had
joining
me
us.
on.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on here.
Real pleasure.
And that we are actually able to hang out in person and to talk about this shit and just like, you know, bond, do some brotherly bonding is what we like to do in the community, man. But RJ, are you close on the zero fault for black belt? You think is it getting to that point?
I mean, it could happen any day.
It really could.
I don't know.
Never
I
know.
feel like usually when I go for like tough zeros, there's usually like it's not like a moment, but there's like a session where I can kind of tell like, oh, I'm gonna get this like soon. And I don't know if it's happened yet for black, but so maybe not, but we'll see.
Well, I hope you get it soon, and I really do want to see the ninja tutorial for black belt because I am in desperate need of it, especially for CP10, getting that overhang down. I'm gonna break it down frame by frame, and you know, hope that I can beat it this upcoming week, very soon. But thank you, chat. I gotta thank you all for being here as well. Really appreciate you all coming out here and listening and giving us opinions. That's what makes this podcast actually run is getting a lot of you guys' ideas, and I can bounce ideas off of that with everybody else in our podcast group. But have a good one, everybody. Hope to see you all soon. Make sure that you guys are following, you know, Oso and RJ, of course. Jacob, unfortunately, will not be, I think, joining us anymore with the podcast.
Except maybe for a guest appearance.
Yeah, he might come on for a guest appearance whenever he is available. Hopefully, we can get him in here sometime, you know, within the next couple episodes. And then Lorcan was pretty weighed down today, but you know, they're always helping us out with getting ideas, and they're still an integral part to having the podcast still run. But yes, peace out, everybody, and have a good one.
See you guys.
See ya.